The history of oil, how a worthless black liquid became the world's most valuable resource. Imagine discovering a strange black liquid bubbling out of the ground. It smells terrible. It's thick and sticky. You can't drink it. You can't eat it. You can't build a house with it. For thousands of years, that's exactly how people saw oil, an odd natural substance with very little value. Yet today, the global economy depends on it. Cars, airplanes, ships, plastics, medicines, cosmetics, and even the clothes you're wearing all exist because of oil. So how did something once considered almost useless become the resource that changed civilization? This is the incredible story of oil. Long before the first oil well was drilled, oil was already leaking naturally from the earth. In places like modern-day Iraq, Iran, Azerbaijan, and parts of North America, thick black liquid seeped through cracks in the ground. Ancient people didn't know where it came from. To them, it seemed as if the earth itself was bleeding. Some believed it had magical properties, others feared it, but many found surprisingly practical uses for it. More than 5,000 years ago, the Sumerians used natural bitumen, a heavier form of crude oil, to glue bricks together and waterproof boats. Without realizing it, they were using one of the world's first petroleum products. The Babylonians coated walls with bitumen to keep out water. Ancient Egyptians used petroleum-based materials during the mummification process. Across the ancient world, oil was useful, but only in small amounts. No one imagined it could ever power civilization. For centuries, oil remained little more than a curiosity. Most homes were lit by candles or lamps fueled by whale oil. Cities relied on horses for transportation. Factories ran on water wheels or steam engines powered by coal. Oil simply had no major purpose. Then, everything changed because of one problem. The world was running out of whales. During the early 19th century, whale oil was the primary fuel for lamps. As cities grew, demand exploded. Whaling ships sailed farther every year, searching for fewer and fewer whales. The price of whale oil skyrocketed. People desperately needed a cheaper alternative. That search would launch an entirely new industry. Scientists discovered that crude oil could be heated and separated into different products. One of those products was kerosene. Unlike whale oil, kerosene burned brightly, produced less smoke, and was far less expensive. Suddenly, the black liquid that had been ignored for thousands of years became incredibly valuable. There was only one problem. Nobody knew how to produce enough of it. Collecting oil from natural seeps wasn't nearly enough to satisfy growing demand. The world needed a new way to reach the vast reservoirs hidden beneath the ground. One man believed he knew how. His name was Edwin Drake. Few people had confidence in his idea. In fact, many thought it was ridiculous. People joked that he was searching for rock oil, the same way others searched for buried treasure. Investors were skeptical. Neighbors laughed. Workers quit. But Drake refused to give up. Instead of digging shallow pits, he borrowed techniques used by salt drillers. His plan was simple: drill deep into the earth, reach the oil directly. No one had successfully done it before. Failure seemed almost certain. Months passed with little progress. The drilling equipment constantly broke. Money began running out. Many investors were ready to abandon the project. Then, on August 27, 1859, everything changed. The drill reached a depth of just under 70 feet. The next morning, workers looked down the well. Oil had risen to the surface. For the first time in history, humans had successfully drilled a commercial oil well. It wasn't a giant geyser like the movies often show, but it didn't need to be. That small well in Titusville, Pennsylvania, marked the birth of the modern petroleum industry. Almost overnight, the impossible became reality. News spread across America. People rushed to Pennsylvania, hoping to strike it rich. Entire towns appeared almost overnight. Farmers became oil producers. Blacksmiths became drilling contractors. Thousands of workers poured into the region. The world's first oil boom had begun. Within just a few years, hundreds of wells covered the Pennsylvania countryside. Production increased dramatically. The price of kerosene fell. Homes that had once depended on expensive whale oil could now afford clean, reliable lighting. Ironically, oil didn't just create a new industry, It also helped save whale populations by reducing the demand for whale oil. But another problem quickly appeared. The oil business had become chaotic. Hundreds of small companies competed fiercely. Prices rose and crashed without warning. Fortunes were made and lost almost overnight. The industry desperately needed organization. Soon, one businessman would change the oil industry forever. The man who brought order to the chaotic oil business wasn't a scientist or an engineer. He was a young accountant. His name was John D. Rockefeller. Unlike most oil producers, Rockefeller wasn't interested in drilling wells. He saw a bigger opportunity. The real money wasn't in finding oil, it was in refining it. In 1870, he founded Standard Oil. While other companies wasted money and operated inefficiently, Rockefeller focused on cutting costs. He negotiated lower railroad shipping rates. He invested in better equipment. He bought competitors or drove them out of business. Within 2 decades, Standard Oil controlled nearly 90% of America's oil refining. Rockefeller became the richest man in modern history. His business methods were controversial, but they transformed oil into a global industry. Oil was no longer a gamble. It had become big business. Then another invention changed everything once again. In the late 1800s, inventors around the world were experimenting with a new kind of machine, the internal combustion engine. Unlike steam engines, these machines were smaller, lighter, and far more practical, but they needed fuel. At first, gasoline was considered almost worthless. Refineries focused on producing kerosene for lamps. Gasoline was often treated as an unwanted byproduct. Then engineers discovered something remarkable. Gasoline was almost perfect for powering combustion engines. Suddenly, the least valuable part of crude oil became one of its most important products. The real explosion in demand came in 1908. That was the year Henry Ford introduced the Model T. It wasn't the first automobile, but it was the first car that millions of ordinary people could actually afford. Ford's moving assembly line dramatically reduced production costs. Car ownership spread across America at an astonishing speed. As more people bought cars, they needed more gasoline. More gasoline required more crude oil. Oil production expanded faster than ever before. What had once been used mainly for lamps was now powering an entirely new era of transportation. Roads expanded. Gas stations appeared across the country. The automobile changed everyday life, and oil became the fuel of modern civilization. Then came the World Wars. Military leaders quickly realized that oil was just as important as soldiers or weapons. Tanks needed fuel. Aircraft needed fuel. Warships needed fuel. Trucks carrying food, ammunition, and medical supplies needed fuel. An army without oil couldn't move. During World War II, access to oil became one of the most important strategic objectives. Entire military campaigns were planned around oil fields and fuel supplies. Control of energy often meant control of the battlefield. By the end of the war, governments around the world understood a simple truth. Oil wasn't just an economic resource. It was a matter of national security. After the war, demand continued to grow. New oil fields were discovered in the Middle East. Countries such as Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates possessed enormous underground reserves. These discoveries transformed the global economy. Entire nations became wealthy through oil exports. International companies invested billions of dollars in exploration and production. Pipelines stretched across deserts. Massive tankers carried crude oil across oceans. A truly global energy network was born. By the second half of the 20th century, oil had earned a new nickname, black gold, not because of its color, but because of its extraordinary value. Today, oil does much more than fuel our cars. It is used to manufacture plastics, synthetic fibers, fertilizers, paints, detergents, medical equipment, cosmetics, electronics, and thousands of everyday products. The smartphone in your pocket, the keyboard on your desk, the packaging protecting your food, even many of the medicines used in hospitals begin their journey with crude oil. Whether we notice it or not, petroleum is woven into modern life. But the story of oil is entering a new chapter. As concerns about climate change grow, countries are investing heavily in renewable energy. Electric vehicles are becoming more common. Solar panels and wind turbines are expanding rapidly. Scientists are developing cleaner fuels and better battery technology. Some experts believe oil will remain essential for decades. Others believe the world is gradually moving toward a future where it plays a much smaller role. No one knows exactly what that future will look like, but history has shown one thing again and again. Every major energy transition changes civilization. Wood gave way to coal. Coal gave way to oil, and someday another energy source may take its place. It's incredible to think that this story began with a strange black liquid seeping from the ground. For thousands of years, people walked past it without realizing its true potential. Then curiosity, innovation, and determination transformed it into the resource that powered the Industrial Revolution, connected continents, fueled airplanes, and helped build the modern world. Oil didn't simply change transportation, it reshaped economies, it influenced politics, it altered the outcome of wars, and it transformed everyday life for billions of people. The next time you see a car driving down the road or an airplane crossing the sky, remember this. Their story began millions of years ago, deep beneath the Earth's surface, waiting for humanity to discover the power hidden inside a single drop of oil. What resource do you think will replace oil in the future?